The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The world is at a critical moment of providing innovative alternatives as a means to create change.
As such, we have created a not-for-profit alternative mobile digital platform as a way to promote space for freedom of speech and expression to the unheard voices.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The world is at a critical moment of providing innovative alternatives as a means to create change.
As such, we have created a not-for-profit alternative mobile digital platform as a way to promote space for freedom of speech and expression to the unheard voices.
We know you believe in the cause and you can further it more by contributing to its sustainability in forms of internet data, fuel, and any other support you deem relevant.
Please support us with your contribution to Equity Bank account number 103-5201-607252 under the name Alternative Digital, or our mobile money numbers 0702-900076 or 0783-047785. Alternative Digital, real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digital etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugende mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative TikTok.
The Alternative TikTok. Real issues, real talk.
All right, a very good morning and a warm welcome to the Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. It is just 3 minutes past 7 a.m. How are you doing today? How was your night? And how is everybody doing on this particular Thursday? It's a very, very insightful Thursday. But before I go forward, let me first wish a happy birthday to Shani Kimberly Royalty Tokyo. Yes, I guess that is your name. She is celebrating her birthday today on the 11th of February 2021. From the entire Alternative team and the Mighty Drive, we wish you a very, very, very happy birthday. But away from that, welcome to the Mighty Drive yet again. This show airs every Monday to Friday from exactly 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we bring a lot of prevalent people whom you want to know about, and they talk to us and they give us insights on what they think our country should run or the world should be in this particular critical moment. Now today we are having a Miss Nancy Kalembe. I don't know if she's a Miss or a Mrs. We'll be asking her that when she comes here on set to talk to me and Farida, but she is a former presidential aspirant. She has an independent, and at that she was the only female in the race. Where does she get the guts from? We'll be asking her more of that. But before we continue and go into the interview of today, allow me first go and give you a brief wrap-up of what has been happening all over the country, Uganda, and all over the world. A lot of things are happening in our country. Some are good and some are really, really filthy, and we really need to work upon that, because we cannot live in a society which causes harm to each other. A society that lives in peace is one that thrives in whatever they do. But let's first go on a sad note. Let's start from the alleged torture of Ronald Segawa. I think you've been seeing many of these videos going around of a particular individual who was really, really tortured, and he was beaten in every part, or bones broken, and he was just dumped there at Mulago mortuary. He was dumped there I think 2 days ago, and the police has come out to really say that this is not torture. They photoshopped a picture, a photo from another a country, and they put it on this particular person, and the spokesperson of the Uganda police, Mr. Fred Enanga, came out and really sat down and said that and came out and said that this was a particular Photoshop. So we'll be knowing more about that. And as I've told you, we're having the former presidential aspirant. She's none other than Miss Nancy Kalembe. She's going to be seated here with me and Farida, as we're going to be dissecting on some of the issues that are concerning you. In other news, by the way, social media has been restored in the country. Yes, social media has been restored, but Facebook has not yet been opened up. But according to the UCC, a directive was given, and WhatsApp and other social media platforms are now free. You can just pay for the, you can just pay for the OTT, and then you will be in position to just be there and, enjoy your social media. But Facebook, for now, is still closed. I don't know why, because we are streaming live on Facebook at the Alternative Uganda. So I think you should think about things like this, and then we can, talk about them. But social media has been restored, as I told you earlier on. Facebook is off. Instagram is on, Twitter is on, WhatsApp is on, but Facebook particularly is off because of the reasons we don't know yet. I think the security threat has not yet decreased. So, social media, it is your time to go and just delve into that and just, keep the conversations going. Something funny about social media is that you will sit where you are and everybody will give you their, their ideas, what they think. You'll see someone giving 1 million likes, let's say 200,000 retweets neoba toyagala kufollowinga kikigenda maaso era gajja mawulire gajja kutuukako. That is the beauty of social media at that. But I believe that internet should now be a human right. I don't know how many agree with me about this, but internet should be a human right. You do not have to just switch off internet because of an election, and that means we've not yet reached the democracy where we want. But we still have hope. America has a democracy of 300 years, but you still see a bit of vile missing in there. I'm not saying that we should follow the same way, but all I'm saying is that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. That is what one of my teachers used to tell me every time, and I'm sure she is streaming live on the Alternative Uganda. Remember, this is the Alternative Uganda. Today we are having Miss Nancy Kalembe. She's a former presidential aspirant, and she is going to be seated here with me and Farida Bikobere as we dissect on some of the issues that are concerning Ugandans. Now let's go straight to the western region, or the western part of Uganda. Yes, there is a foot and mouth disease that has broken out in this particular country, in Barara district. It has not been prevalent in Barara, but the foot and mouth disease has, this particular disease, as you know, attacks the cattle. Yes, so the cattle of Barara have been put under quarantine. I don't know if I say the cattle, do I follow it with a has or do I follow it with a have? I think Teddy, one of my literature mentors, can really tell me how that flows. But as I was telling you, there is a foot and mouth disease that has broken out in Barara. So all cattle from Barara is under quarantine because of the foot and mouth disease. This has been prevalent along that Masaka, Barara Highway. We had, I think, the foot and mouth disease. We had a quarantine that was in around Masaka. There was one that was in, I think, Kalisizo, and this place where our teacher comes from. I think after you've passed Kalisizo, there's a place there. That whole region has been having a problem with the foot and mouth disease, and I don't know what the government is doing about this, because it feels like this disease is so prevalent in Uganda. In Kenya, the rates of this foot and mouth disease are not as high as Uganda, and yet these guys are predominantly pastoralists. So that is a question: is it a weakness of us Ugandans, or the medical team of Uganda, or some other person? Now let's cross over to what is happening in the NUP camp. Eddie Mutwe, Nubian Lee, and 36 other guys have not yet been given bail on grounds that they may cause insurrections or violence, or a lot of protests. I don't know how these guys, the government has really sat down to measure what violence these particular gentlemen can cause, but that is what the government says, and the Uganda police. So they have not yet given them bail. Remember, they are still remanded at, I think, Mbuya Barracks, and they are alleging, they say that they were having ammunition, that is guns and so. But such charges have been seen in the past before, and many of them have ended up to be, fake, and not having very good grounds. Those are things that, personally as a journalist, we have to inform people at the same time as we educate, because that is one of our civic duties, to inform and to educate Ugandans to know more about their country. So these things have been happening to Bobi Wine himself, their party leader. We had them happen to retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besije, who's really vibrant and has always talked about the Plan B. We don't know what that Plan B is, by the way. But yes, so that is the news that is coming in from the people who like Eddie Mutwe, Nubian Lee, and others. There is Bobby Young. There is a couple of people right there who have been under, imprisonment up to now. I think Chagulan yesterday went and paid a courtesy call to them in Kitale. I don't know if he saw them, because he said some were not allowed to meet them at Kitale, military prisons. But that will also, I'm sure, end sooner or later. But we stand with the people who are engraved in this particular, in this particular saga. Then, surprisingly, Parliament becomes so fun every other day. So there is a bill that is going to be scheduled and put to the floor of Parliament, where MPs really need to extend their term from 5 years to 7 years. You heard me right. You didn't hear me wrong. Wampulide bulungi. Ba MP waliwo ebbago eriteesebwako bagenda okuba nga banjula ku Parliament nga bategeeza nti ba MPs bagenda kuva ku myaka 5 paka ku myaka 7. But this was posted yesterday by the Daily Monitor, and I would like to believe that the Daily Monitor is a credible source. So yes, rumor has it that it is going to be tabled, but these are the things we have to think about as Ugandans. There is what they call service before self and service beyond self. So, ladies and gentlemen, as parliamentarians and legislators, Ugandans gave you the mandate to really go and lead them for the next 5 years. And you're planning to lead them for 2 more years. That makes it 7. I wonder if this is done in good faith or it's done in a faith where people are just being selfish. You know, a lot of eyes are on the 11th Parliament. People voted for them. We saw a lot of change. So, I don't know, you know, when it comes to vital issues like these, issues like constitutional amendment in terms of, you know, having more years, constitutional amendments in terms of getting money, salary increments, we've always seen a consensus. There is no opposition when it comes to this. The opposition comes in the political basis. But when it comes to interests, mutual interests, we see people having a mutual understanding. So, this is a test for you, the Ugandan Parliament, the 11th Parliament at that, a parliament that has a lot of youth, a parliament that is seen as a hope to many Ugandans. So, Amaso Gawa Tunulide, Babalaba, every decision you make, remember what happened in Buganda region prior to, I think this year, 2021, you saw a sweep that was there. That means the population is not becoming more vibrant, they're becoming more informed. And you don't want to test such a population, because you can want and extend up to 7 years, and Ugandans will be patient as they have always been. But what will come after the 7 years? I hope you will have reaped enough not to go back to the garden. That is just, it's just something that we have to think about, and let's have a conscience as Ugandans to love our country before we love ourselves. Yes. So apart from that, we have a new tourism ambassador. And that is none other than Joshua Cheptegei. Remember, Joshua Cheptegei is a world champion, 3 times record holder. Yes, one was in Spain, I think the other was in Valencia, and the other was in Czech Republic. All those have, have earned him a lot of prestige and respect all over Uganda and the world at large. This guy has a world record. Having a world record in this day and era is not something you call cheap. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me congratulate the Mr. Joshua Cheptegei upon becoming the new Uganda Tourism Board tourism ambassador. Now the question goes, how are they going to be doing it with Uganda's superstar? He likes to call himself that, Akana Kem, but Edidi Samusuza, none other than Eddie Kenzo, who was also the Uganda Tourism Board ambassador. I think they will be having it together. You know, this world is easy. We don't have to have a lot of fights between us because we need blessings and we need money. It is better to just work together, because they're all superstars in their own way. This person is an athlete, or a celebrated athlete at that. And Edgar Samusuza is also a celebrated Ugandan musician and artist who has, waved the Ugandan flag all over Africa and the world at large. He even still remains the only BET award holder in the country. Yeye kajirina BET. If you know, you know. So I think these guys should work together to make the Pearl of Africa the pearl it used to be, or the one that it's supposed to be. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just 18 minutes past the top of the hour. We are streaming live on our Facebook page. It is at The Alternative Uganda. On Facebook and on YouTube, it is still The Alternative Uganda. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and I'm here to usher you into this beautiful morning as we're going to be hosting none other than the presidential aspirant and candidate, former presidential candidate, none other than Nancy Kalembe, who's going to be seated here in just a few. So as we wrap up today's edition of the Mighty Global News Update, let's talk about the death of Kobe Bryant. Many of you heard about the sad death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, who died in a plane crash earlier on. I think that was 2020. Yes, we had a sad year at that. So Kobe died because of an airplane crash. But today they've justified that it was because of the fog that was right there in the United States as he was flying up. I think the pilot was not able to see, and that's what they're saying, that because of the fog, the pilot lost control of this particular aircraft, which saw us lose one of the best legends of the game, and that is none other than Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant won over 3 world, 3 American champions, 3 American champion titles. What LeBron James, I think, is the only one who has more than that. LeBron James, and we have Stephen Curry also has 4. So Kobe Bryant is a celebrated, basketball player. One time I'll get a day and I'll just give you a bit of dissect on what happens in the world of basketball. Basketball is also interesting in its own way. Yes, because when you look at the champions that are there now, we have LeBron James, we have Kevin Durant, who's there, Stephen Curry, and Kobe Bryant was one of the team. He played for the LA, where I think right now LeBron James is playing, and LeBron won that particular title because they were playing and they were saying they were balling for Kobe Bryant. I'll sit down one time and I give you a bit of juxtaposition between the basketball of Uganda, how it's happening in the international global scene, what is happening in the United States, where basketball is really a prevalent sport. I'll give you most of this because it's really an interesting game if you want to watch. This is the Mighty Drive, and what have I not talked about? Oh, guys, surprisingly, now let me tell you what is happening in Tanzania. President Magufuli denounces 3rd term. So there is a clique of members of parliament of the Chama cha Mapinduzi party, for which John Pombe Magufuli really belongs. So they were suggesting that they have a constitutional amendment in favor of John Pombe Magufuli. They were saying that this particular what they are going to do is that they're going to have an amendment that will see John Pombe Magufuli coming back for the 3rd term. Remember, in the Constitution of Tanzania, a leader has to go for 2 terms, that is 10 years. Tops. So for 2 terms, after serving your purpose and serving your goal, then you exit. But these particular people are saying, John Pombe Magufuli, our hero, you've done a lot of great work in Tanzania. You even fought COVID-19. Tanzania doesn't have COVID-19, but I was reading an article earlier on, and the doctors really say something different from what the President Magufuli says. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about John Pombe Magufuli refusing. And ladies and gentlemen, also sitting down and inviting, I think he invited these particular MPs who are bringing that, that idea. And he's going to be having a meeting with them today because he invited them yesterday. So I'm sure today he's going to be having with them. And I think this meeting is about ridiculing them, telling them that you do not have to change the constitution just because of me. How many leaders in their sane mind, in this African narrative, can really say no to such a thing? Such a blank check. We saw some people getting brutalized here in Uganda because of the amendment. Many people were beaten. Many people's wrists were broken. If you really think I'm lying, just go and ask the honorable member of, I think, Mukono Municipality, and Betty Namboze. You can ask the one of Mitiana, the one that works with Bobby Wine. This particular gentleman had a lot of wrath instilled on them just because of the amendment of the Constitution to suit an individual. I would strongly say that because that was the only thing that was barring Museveni from coming back to 2021 polls. But yes, it was amended, and the person who's beyond 75 and who's above 18 can come and vote and stand for presidency. So John Pombe Magufuli ridiculed the MPs and said, I don't want to come back to power, or if I wanted, the constitution does not mandate me to do this. How many African leaders can do this? But African leaders bambeka chenkugambe mbu Pombe Magufuli aganye okukwata ku constitution okumukkiriza okubanga ajja okwesimbawo mu mwaka oguddako mu mwaka gw'ebyokulonda oguddako. How many African leaders can really do this? This is something that is a challenge. Like somebody puts a challenge for you. John Pombe Magufuli has really set a challenge for many African leaders, and they have to really learn from that. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the Mighty Global News Update. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. We are going to go in for a short commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to be with the lovely Farida Bikobere and Nancy Kalembe, the former presidential aspirant. She's an independent, and she will be telling us more about her journey, how she went through the process of elections, what were the lessons learned, what does she have to tell Ugandans, what should Ugandans hope for in the next term, and why did she come for the presidential seat? Because, there is a lot of gender biases when it comes to the African setting and the African narrative. We're going to be asking her all that, and she's going to be telling us more about her journey to the election period. Remember, we first saw her when it happened earlier on in, in November, when we were having the nominations, we saw Nancy Kalembe. She's the only woman who was in this particular campaign. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having Nancy Kalembe today, and she's going to be telling us more about her journey. And this is the Mighty Drive. Nze bampita Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, nze ngawe nabagamba mbeera wano kubasanyusa era okubaweereza ebintu bye mwagala okuwulya. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Let's come back with Miss Nancy Kalembe right here. Let's go for a short commercial break.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Uganda is born again.
Mubirabye. Mubiwulidde.
And you will see what NRM means. We are going to crush those criminals.
Mubyenyigiddemu.
We are simply peacefully telling our people, say no to rigged elections.
Ebimu mubitegeera.
Naffe tusobola okutiisatiisa abo abatiisatiisa.
Oba oli awo ng'abamu mugwamu bigwe. Yabaffe byava ku ki?
Era kyova olaba baatukolera ne constitution esinga obusiru mu nsi yonna.
Bino n'ebirala birindirire buli lwa Sande okuva ku ssaawa 11 okutuuka ku ssaawa 1 ey'akawungeezi n'eyaliko Katikkiro wa Buganda Oweekitiibwa Dani Muliika ku program Eriiso ly'Omukulu ku Facebook page The Alternative Uganda.
The world is at a critical moment of providing innovative alternatives as a means to create change.
As such, we have created a not-for-profit alternative mobile digital platform as a way to promote space for freedom of speech and expression to the unheard voices.
We know you believe in the cause and you can further it more by contributing to its sustainability in forms of internet data, fuel, and any other support you deem relevant.
Please support us with your contribution to Equity Bank account number 103-5201-607252 under the name Alternative Digital, or our mobile money numbers 0702-900076 or 0783-047785. Alternative Digital, real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digital etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Farida, Bikobere is my name. Because Karuhanga yabyogedde. But right now in the studios we have our guest of the day, Miss Nancy Kalembe, Linda. Tugenda kubanga ate twogeramuko naye her presidential journey, byali bitya, campaign trail yali etya, being the only female among the 11 people that stood for presidency. We want to know her experience, how it is. Can it inspire a girl child if I also want to stand as the president of Uganda someday? How will it feel? How will I handle? So we will be learning. I will be learning, and you will also be learning. You that is watching us on the Alternative Digital. Our name is the Alternative Uganda on Facebook. Please go to your Facebook account, search engine, put the Alternative Uganda. You will find us, like the page, and then follow us, and then don't forget to press the notification button to get a notification every when we go live. It is a Thursday, so we welcome you all to the show. The Mighty Drive is the show that you are watching. Mbanyiriza nyonyonyonyoni dala mwena abatulaba from wherever you are watching from. Tubanyiriza, we are the Alternative Uganda on Twitter and the Alternative Uganda on YouTube. And abatasobodde tulaba ku Facebook, the same show will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, the Alternative Uganda. Osobola okugendayo ate naawe notusangayo eyo n'olaba show n'obeerako by'oyiga naddala omwana omuwala oba omwana w'obuwala. We have a female candidate in the studios. Oyina bingi eby'okumuyigirako situbakubiriza mwanguweeko show yatandise dda. Mwami Karuhanga, may you take the pleasure to welcome.
Of course, let me take the pleasure to welcome our guest. As I told you earlier on, she's a former presidential candidate. Her name is, I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. Nancy Kalembe.
It's Miss.
Miss. Yeah. Okay. So, Miss Nancy Kalembe, you're welcome on the show, and it's a profound honor to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, let's start off with you telling us how did it start? We didn't hear of Nancy Kalembe in the past years, and boom, when it's time for nomination, we see a lady coming up front for a seat that is predominantly, taken to be a men's seat, and you come and you really tussled it to the end. How did it start?
For me, it started when I was 14 years old. I was in S1. We just joined Namagunga.
Okay.
And that is when I started knowing that I'd be the next president of this country. And when the time came, the last election, I was 34 years old, and the law had not yet been amended, so I was not eligible to run for presidency. So by the time this time came round, I was of age. I was 39 when we were picking up our nomination forms. By the time I was into the campaigns, I had already turned 40, which I thought was a reasonable age, though the law was amended. It's something that I've been preparing for. It's taken me 26 years of preparation.
Wow.
I've been reading, studying, watching other leaders, and I know that I will still be the next president of this country.
You can. Dreams are valid, Farida.
Yeah, they
Dreams are really valid, right?
I am just imagining a 14-year-old girl dreaming of being the next president.
Actually, when we were young, I used to be told, "Oh, come, let's do this." I said, no, I don't want that to appear on my record when I am president.
Wow.
Let's do this. No, that will appear on my record when I am president. So there are a lot of things I didn't do as a teenager because I knew stuff pops up when you get into leadership. So I used to tell my friends that I don't think I can do that. It will show up at some point, and I don't want it to show up. So I'd rather try and keep as much of a clean slate as I possibly can. No one is perfect, but You try.
Of course, you try. All right, but let's talk about, the journey as you started. It's like going to pick the nomination forms, and how was the process? How did you fear? Did you have a bit of fright because you're starting off on a journey that is really, really hectic, and what many presidential candidates go through in this country? How was it starting from that electoral period itself?
My fear didn't start when I was picking the nomination forms.
Okay.
Actually, my fear has been with me. When I was 14 years old, and I believe I had God tell me I will be president of this country, it was exciting. So then it was exciting, deep down I'm going to be the president, so it's exciting as a child. As I grew older, I realized it's not as exciting as it seems. So I think when I was about 18, I decided to change my mind. You know what? I think I want to do family. I don't want to do politics. Don't want to get into leadership. So at about 18, I was thinking more of career and family. But quickly, it changed back to where I needed to be. I just felt, that nudge that makes you feel like you're on the wrong path. You're supposed to be taking this one. So throughout my university, I was a normal student. I did my sports. I went to class. I loved sports so much. And life moved on. But still, there was that nudge. And my father kept on telling me, you need to prepare for a position of leadership. I had never told my dad or my parents because my father was in leadership. He was in politics. So I feared that the moment I told him, it was going to become a problem for me. He was going to push me very hard and all that. And I wasn't sure at that time whether I could do this. And I saw how politics in this country was starting to go. Over the years, it doesn't look very attractive. And then I came across a quote that said, the bad things that happen are the fault of the good people who keep silent, not the bad people who cause them. So you start feeling guilty a bit. And I thought, no, I should get back on course. So I started seeking mentors again, started looking around. And for me, I think the turning point was the day Angela Merkel of Germany was inaugurated. I was watching that day. And that's the day something just clicked and I remembered. You're like, oh my goodness, I think I was supposed to do this. So I started again, working real hard, praying about it, of course, and asking people how to go about it. So I was recommended to a few leadership courses that I started to take. I was recommended to read certain books, and I started to actually actively seek mentors. But the closer the time came, I think the last election was terrible for me. I was very afraid. So when I was told, if you're not 35 by the time you're supposed to pick up nomination forms, then you don't qualify. That was a relief. I was like, okay. So next time. So as the time came closer, for me it became very scary because I could see tear gas. How I didn't want to fight. I think leaders ought to be dignified.
True.
So the whole idea of fighting, mudslinging, saying words that you probably don't want your children to hear, I thought it was time to bring dignity back into the space of leadership so that Ugandans can actually see what leadership is about. It's not about running around, causing chaos, defiance. It's not about that. It's about that woman who is giving birth on the street that needs good hospitals. It's about that child who's failing to get good education. It's about the market vendor who's failing to get her business running properly because of certain prohibitive situations in our country. It's about the ordinary people in Uganda, the worker who's paying excessive taxes. It's about all these things. It's not about drama. It's not about celebrity lifestyle. You see, our leaders have turned into celebrities. That's why most of them want to buy the biggest cars, want to drive, have the biggest houses and show them off. For a leader, what is your business trying to show off, you know, the most expensive car, the most expensive house? That's not what African leadership ought to be like right now. African leadership ought to be, how well can I improve the life of the person next to me? If I live in a neighborhood where people's lives are better, what can I do to the people, for the people in the slums near me, the villages and all that? So the moment I started to see it that way, sometimes it oscillated. Sometimes the fright would be too much. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to handle? It was very scary. You worried I was worried a lot. I was afraid a lot. Throughout the campaigns, everybody said I was very confident and articulate, and I seemed to be on top of my game. Actually, no. I think I was fasting most of last year, and throughout the campaign, I had to be fasting because I knew where my source of power and strength are. For me, it's been a walk of faith every day. I've been asking God for guidance before any show, before any appearance, before people. I take time off and just pray and seek God for guidance. So the confidence that people see on the outside is not from me, it's from God. That is what I basically tell people. So on now on, I don't know how people do it without God. I won't tell you that I know how people do it without God. I know that that's the only way I could get through this.
At the age of 14 years, what really inspired you to point at the position of the presidency, not other, like member of parliament, not the speaker, not any other position, and particularly it was the position of the president?
Actually, at that age, you're not thinking leadership, you're not thinking politics, you're not thinking positions, because at that age, they don't really mean anything to you. As I've said before, I had a voice, and I believe God spoke to me. So it didn't come from me. It is something that I thought, okay, this is my calling, and this is where I'm going to go. That's why I've never thought of being member of parliament or any other position. It was always that. So I prepare myself for what I believe God has called me for. And as I prayed and asked God, how do I go about this? The Bible says the footsteps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord. So every step I took was more like a guided footstep. Yes, of course you make mistakes along the way. You hear, do this, and then you do something else because you're either afraid or you think, I can't do that. So you dodge and do other things and try to find alternatives that are probably easier for you. So that has happened a lot in my life. So it wasn't about the position. It has never really been about the position. For me, it has been service.
Service. It was calling. Okay, let us hear your experience as a first-time contestant. It is your first time to contest. And two, you are a female among 11 candidates. You are the only woman that stood. How was your experience?
In this era of tear gas, of imprisonments, COVID-19, man, it was a long journey. Tell us.
First, I'm afraid of crowds.
Wow. Okay.
I guess no one knew that.
Yeah. We couldn't really tell.
My first day when I picked up the forms, it was quiet. When we started doing the collection of signatures, it was quiet. So I was doing it quietly, and that was, of course, you're afraid every day. You're thinking, oh my goodness. When people started getting arrested because they were collecting signatures for me, it started to become reality. When the first team quit, they all quit. A few individuals remained, but most of the first team quit. They said, we're not doing this, because they asked me, who's funding you? No one.
I am my own funder.
This one is going to be a God thing. God will fund me all the way. How? I said, I don't know. But this for me is a faith walk. And I believe the God who sent me here is not going to leave me halfway. So we'll keep on going. Somehow the funds will come up. And most people know that when it comes to campaigns, there's a lot of money, so they're going to make a lot of money. Some of them came up and said, okay, for the campaigns, you're going to pay me 10 million per month. And I kept on looking at them thinking, okay. So when the first team actually realized there was no money, they quit. And I remained with a few. So we started building the team again. After picking up the nomination forms, I got a team, we put together a team that was supposed to help collect the signatures across the country. So we got leaders from across all the 12 sub-regions. We got a regional head and then 12 sub-regional heads that we knew, okay, we'll be able to get now district leaders to try and collect signatures from every district. That team came on board. We managed to collect some money to give them transport, accommodation, and basically things to go by. And they got the signature, they collected the signatures and they sold them because someone was offering more. Oh. So my first signatures were sold and that team quit.
That was terrible.
And we were running out of time. Yeah. So now we did it the rudimentary way. We got a few people who were crazy like me and they said, Nancy, I'll stand with you. And we had to drive. And now from there onwards, it was sleepless nights because we spent some nights sleeping in the car, in places that you don't know where you are. If they asked you where are you, you're looking for signposts and you're like, actually, I don't know. At some point, we lost time. You didn't know what time it was exactly. You didn't know where you were. And at some point, it was raining heavily, so it was confusing. Then we would lose contact. You don't know where the person is. They have vanished. You're worried. But we managed to get the signatures. And for me, it was never about, you see, I'm the only woman, so I'm among 10 men. I looked at the 10 men and honestly, I grew up with 8 big brothers. And they're just human beings like us. They're just different in gender, that's it. But there are a lot of things that we are capable of that men are not. There are things that men are capable of that we are not. And if you train yourself and change your mind from victim mentality to saying I can do anything, the Bible says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The moment you get into that mindset, then it doesn't matter whether they are men or women. I really didn't care. I just knew I've gotten into this. I have to finish well. And most importantly, if I could become the president of this country, then we could have a paradigm shift in our nation. Maybe our country needs a mother to change everything so that our leadership is not about greed. It's not about acquiring more property, because right now the leadership is all about that. Yeah. They want to own streets, they want to own every building, they want to own every apartment. It's about them, not the nation, not the people. So for me, it wasn't about, I didn't care how many years of experience they had. I didn't care whether they were men. I didn't care how much money they had. I knew that at the end of the day, if God had called me, He has more experience than all these 10 men combined. And if He's going to guide me, then He will take me where I need to go.
Oh, yes. Then Nancy, you talk about the politics of dignity, politics of truth. That is what Uganda needs right now. But let's come back to the reality. Can a leader like that have a say in Uganda's politics? Can you bring that type of politics in this country and really win the hearts of the people? Or can I assert that was the reason why you were able to fail in this particular, campaign?
Quite on the contrary, I didn't fail.
Okay. How would you call what you went through?
I didn't become president, yes. But it's not a failure.
Yeah, by the way, it's not.
It's not a failure. Because when you see what happens, you can't say because we are pushing for leadership of dignity and leadership of truth. Yes, in the short run, look at life. If you get into business and you are honest, and you have honest weighing scales, and you have honest pricing, you're not going to make profit as much as the person who has dishonest weights. You're not going to get rich as fast as the people who are dishonest. You see, you may not be a good talker, like, you know, to convince people to come and buy from you and lie to them, because a lot of marketing is about lies. So when someone tells a lie that, you know, I can take you to the moon and all those things, of course they'll get more attention. If you look at the politics of this nation, the more drama you have, the more attention you attract. If you're defiant, if you're abusive, if you're attacking everybody, you'll attract more attention. And you see, just because the wrong thing gets you there faster, it does not mean that if you stay on course, people will not realize. You see, when the campaign started, most people didn't even know I was moving around the country, because most of the media houses were focused on where the tear gas is, where the defiance is, where the Kavuyo was, and all that. But with time, people started to realize, we like what this lady is talking about. We like her agenda. We like where she's going. We like the fact that she's dignified and respectful. I told people from the beginning, well, I was called a mole for the president and for this government because I was not as abusive and attacking. And they asked me, aren't you a mole? I said, no, time will tell. I don't have to justify myself. Time will tell. If I'm a mole, you will find out. If I'm not a mole, you'll still find out. So it takes longer to build trust, especially when you're trying to do things right. And that's what happened. Throughout the campaign, the beginning part I was ignored. Towards somewhere in the middle, towards the end, people realized, you've actually been, how many districts have you been to? By the end of the campaign, I had actually been to 127 districts. And none of the men got to even 80 districts. So while they were in defiance and wasting time, I was actually moving around and meeting many communities and people. Yes, I didn't manage to do all the 146 districts, but 127 is quite something, especially when we had a shoestring budget. My campaign was actually run by friends and family and well-wishers along the way. When we went to certain places, people would walk up to me and say, this is fuel, this is maybe accommodation, this is this. And over time, it started to build. At the end of the election, there are people who didn't vote for me who actually called me and said, you know what, I didn't vote for you, but looking at it from retrospective, I should have actually voted for you, and maybe I should have convinced more people to vote for you. I said, why? I said, you know what, you came off like you were passing time, trying to get another milestone in your life. But then as time went by, we realized you were actually serious. But then it was late. And the media houses, I'm very grateful to them, because when they realized I was serious, they started to follow me, started to give me interviews. But before, I would call some newspapers and ask them can I have an interview with you? And they would say, no, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. And since I didn't have money, I decided, let's do our own YouTube channel, let's do our own Facebook Live, and let's do what we can do within the budget that we have. And somewhere during nomination, after nomination, Electoral Commission throws another bombshell. They said, one, the constitution was changed, so we're not going to give you cars to help you move around the country. We're not going to give you money to help you move. As presidential candidates, we're supposed to have been, given money to help us move. I think the last election, it was 80 million. This year, it was supposed to be 100 million for each of the presidential candidates and cars. They told us, no. And the president said, if you're poor, then you have no business running for political office. And that is the mindset of Ugandans.
Okay, before we go for a short commercial break at just 53 minutes past the top of the hour, before we go for a short commercial break, let's start with that exactly, that the poor are not meant to be the politics of this country. What is your take before we go for a short commercial break?
What is poor?
I think not having enough, financial muscle to foot, I think to lead a nation, because that is what you say.
No, it is financial muscle to even run your own campaigns.
You see, the reason why we have very bad leaders right now is we focused in the wrong places.
It is because we vote poor leaders.
We think because someone drives a nice car and a very big car, they are worth being a leader. You don't know if they are a thief. You don't know if they killed somebody to get that car. When you see someone has a very large mansion and they put it all over Facebook and take pictures, that actually shows someone is shallow. By the time someone is taking pictures of their house and showing to the public, this is my house, this is my car, that doesn't show that you're a good leader. It just shows that you're a show-off. Simple.
A pompous leader.
You're a pompous person, not leadership. Leadership, how we were taught that to be a good leader, you have to be humble.
Yeah.
You know? So what is poor exactly? Poor is, in my definition, poor is someone who has no life. If you're bedridden and you can't get up and feed yourself, you can't do anything, maybe that can go for poor. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank account.
Yes.
If you have no life, then that is what I would define as poor.
But looking at the president's definition,
walk,
they didn't mean that
you
one.
see, his definition, I don't know what his definition is, but when it comes to leadership, it doesn't, maybe the person who's gone hungry for many days would make the best leader, because he then empathize with those who have no food, so that he'll do anything in their power. She'll do anything in their power to help them have food. Because maybe the person who's failed to take their children to school because of the high school tariffs is the best positioned person to actually be a good leader and try and provide affordable education for everybody else. Maybe a person who is failing to keep a roof over their heads because they can't find employment, they can't do business that is sustainable because of the high taxes and the unfavorable environment, maybe that is the best leader to actually come into a third world country like this, because then they will know what taxes to cut. They will know how not to oppress people, so that they give people good housing, they give people a good environment for their businesses to thrive. Maybe those are the leaders we're actually looking for, not the pompous ones who think that being a leader is about celebrity life and make sure that all your family is either in ministerial positions and all your family is in, having every business in the country, every contract in the country is being given to particular families. That's not leadership.
Okay.
So I ask again, what is poor?
All right, she asks again, what is poor? Just 57 minutes past the top of the hour. This is the Alternative Uganda, and we are having the Mighty Drive. It is always there every Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. as we host people, prominent people at that, who really tell us more about what they think about our country and how we can move forward as a country and as a nation. So as we go for a short commercial break, we're going to be coming back with former presidential candidate Nancy Kalembe. She's going to be telling us now, let's delve into the politics of this country. She'll talk about the RS. She'll talk about the people who are disappearing, and by the way, she'll tell us about the gender-based biases she might have got on her journey through the presidential campaign. This is the Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I'm with Farida, Bikobere, and Nancy Kalembe. Let's go for a short commercial break. When we come back, it is still the Mighty Drive.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the alternative digital etuwadde kano ka mighty drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugende mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative TikTok.
Uganda is born again.
Mubirabye. Mubiwulidde.
And you will see what NRM means. We are going to crush those criminals.
Mubyenyigiddemu.
We are simply peacefully telling our people, say no to rigged elections.
Ebimu mubitegeera.
Naffe tusobola okutiisatiisa abo abatiisatiisa.
Oba oli awo ng'abamu mugwamu bigwe. Byabaffe byava ku ki?
Era kyova olaba baatukolera ne constitution esinga obusiru mu nsi yonna.
Bino n'ebirala birindirire buli lwa Sande okuva ku ssaawa 11 okutuuka ku ssaawa 1 ey'akawungeezi n'eyaliko Katikkiro wa Buganda Oweekitiibwa Dani Muliika ku program Eriiso ly'Omukulu ku Facebook page The Alternative Uganda.
The Alternative TikTok. Real issues, real talk.
Eddakiika eriemu eyakayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'amakya g'olunaku lwa leero. We are in our second hour of our program, The Mighty Drive. Ebeerayo every day, Monday to Friday, essaawa ebeeremu ey'okumakya paka ssaawa 3. In this hour, we shall be reading your questions. You will be calling in to ask you questions and our guest will be answering. So I think I will first read for you our studio line. It is 0789 017 145 0789 017 145. Osobola okutukubirako bw'oba olina ky'obuuza ate oba ky'oteesa ne tukuwulira oba olina ky'oyagala omugenyi waffe akuddemu. Agenda kubanga akuwulira bulungi nnyo ate ng'akuddamu. Gw'atasobodde kuba genda ku Facebook on our live video wansi mu comment section typingamu ekibuuzo kyo oba enteesa yo yonna. You can engage in our discussions, any comments, everything. We shall be reading them wansi ku live video yaffe mu comment section. Typingamu kyonna ky'oyagala okumanya oba okubuuza oba ky'oteesa. Tugenda kubanga ate tukisoma. Gw'atasobodde tulaba ku Facebook tukiddamu. The same video will be uploaded on YouTube. Osobola ogenda n'otusangayo n'obeerako ky'oyiga. We have a female candidate, former presidential candidate. Munnange ekyenkizo nti yali mukazi kyekyenkizo ennyo ekisinga kubanga community yaffe ekula eri patriarchal ekula tukula bagulumiza abasajja. So omukazi buli wavaayo n'asonga mu kifo ekirimu abasajja omukazi kyakula sajja kyakula sajja okutuuma amannyanya mangi. So we want to really hear about Miss Nancy Kalembe's challenges as a woman during your campaigns, those gender sentiments. You are a woman, maybe you cannot read. You cannot
come and kneel. You have to kneel and say hi. You know.
But kneeling is okay. I do not know about her.
Saying,
and kneeling is
there's
okay.
A way it
so
demeans a
it
woman.
belittles.
So, yeah, it belittles them. And I think that is what
some
many
cultures, some cultures might be because some cultures don't allow their daughters to kneel. But for us, in Wosoga, kneeling is okay, and it is a sign of respect. So kneeling is okay with me. So we really want to hear about Miss Nancy Kalembe's experience as a woman and as an independent you have no funding. How did you sustain your campaign to the end?
First of all, I need to correct you. Kneeling is not demeaning. It is our culture. All over the world, we kneel. Men and women kneel down. It depends on who you're kneeling for and why you're kneeling. If I'm being told to kneel down as a punishment, then that is demeaning. But when I kneel down before God when I'm in prayer, that is actually elevating. You see what I mean? If I kneel before God, it's an honor. If I kneel before my parents, it's a blessing. If I kneel before the elderly, greeting them, it is a sign of respect. That is why I always tell people, don't kneel if that's not what you want to do. Only kneel when that's what. Because there is a God who sees what is in our hearts. And false humility is worse than pride. You understand?
Yes.
I come from Busoga. I am from the royal lineage. In my language, we say, Omombe data menamavu. Meaning, tafukamira. I'm a princess. So I don't need to kneel down for anyone. I don't even kneel before the king. I'm not supposed to kneel before the king. We're the only women in my culture who don't have to kneel before the king if you don't want to. You're not expected to do that. But while you're growing up, cultures have morphed. I know I'm not supposed to kneel down. But if I find elderly people, if I stand, I'm going to start explaining myself and all that. It's just easier to show them respect and move on.
Yeah.
Every time I've knelt down and I stand up, I don't stand up when I'm an inch shorter. No. I'm still a very tall woman. And every time I kneel down, I still get up and I'm the same height that I went down.
But these are particular kinds of people who do it not out of respect, but out of belittling. And they really want to show you that you are a woman. To assert the fact that
no.
It's what you're supposed to do.
You see, if you have self-esteem issues, that's not my problem. If you think that by me kneeling down for you is going to elevate you a little bit, that is actually your problem. You have serious self-esteem issues that you need to deal with, and I am sorry you do. By thinking that if you're going to make me kneel down, you're going to belittle me, that is actually baffling. Okay. It shows your weaknesses, not mine. Plus, when we're running for presidency, I didn't meet such people. To be honest with you, when I traveled the country, I actually met more respect than people who despised me. I even went into strongholds of the NRM. And when I started to speak, they actually listened. I remember when we were in Karuhanga district, one of the places I was so afraid of going was Karuhanga district, Kazo, and what other district? They were Rushere.
Why did you get afraid?
Because those are NRM strongholds. He comes from there. I thought I was going to get beaten up if I went into that place. Surprisingly, when we went to those places, we found old men and women who were actually listening to us. We found old men and women who were asking genuine and sensible questions. You seem to be very young, but the things you speak are much older than your age. Are you actually, where do you get all this wisdom from? And I'll tell them very simply, I am the daughter of the Most High God, so my wisdom comes from above. It has very little to do with my age. And they listened, and it was amazing. There was a man I came across, I think I was in Kazo district, who asked very tough questions because they wanted to humiliate me, show that I didn't know anything. Because unfortunately for him, he didn't do research on me, he just came. And he ended up actually looking very, very bad. Because when I answered his questions, it actually made the crowd. Now, the crowd in the beginning was not
paying as much attention. They were listening, yes, but they were thinking, yeah, small girl, what can she do? When he asked me those questions,
and you answered them,
and then I answered them, it did more for me, and it was actually a blessing. Because then the people who were in the crowd said, hey, I think I will vote for you. And then there's another woman who also came and was trying to ask demeaning questions. Who do you think you are? You're just a woman. I said, so are you. You're a woman and you have daughters.
And that is the problem in our country
here. Do you want your daughters never to achieve anything just because
they are girls?
They're women, they're girls? Yeah. How can you of all people say such things? I didn't meet men who were attacking me on my gender basis because men know that is a sensitive place to go. But I found fellow women who were attacking me. Who do you think you are? You're just a woman. I said, okay, so are you. Should you never get a job because you're a woman? Should you not be allowed to vote because you're a woman? Should you not do a lot of things? Should you be kept away from a promotion because you're a woman? So what right do you have to tell a fellow woman that I'm not right to do this? So actually, to be honest with you, it is us the women who have kept ourselves from leadership.
That is very true.
Why? Because if the voters of this country are 52.6% of the total voters, and we don't have enough female leaders, then the problem is with us, the women, not the men. This time we're not blaming society. We're not blaming the men. We're not blaming society. The blame is on us. Because it is us who are not financially supporting fellow women. Some of the hate messages I got were actually from women. Some women sent me messages. You're a woman. Why don't you go and cook for your husband? Go and take care of your children. Go and why are you entering this space? And it is women. I never got hate messages from men. I actually got more encouraging messages from men. But most of the people who financially supported me were men.
I always want to wonder, because I was reading a book, Blossoms of the Savannah, and it was about an African setting. And it was even the women who used to carry out the female genital mutilation against their very own women. So I think there is a battle between women and women themselves. Why is that?
That has always been. You see, I was watching a documentary about female genital mutilation. And the men are actually sympathetic towards the girls because they see the pain they go through. Some of the fathers actually hide their daughters so that they don't have to face that. But you'll find that the older women are saying, we went through it, we saw that pain, why shouldn't you go? So it's like, I saw the pain, so should you. I failed to give birth because I got circumcised, so should you. I couldn't enjoy sex, so why should you have a right to enjoy sex when the rest of us don't enjoy it because it's very painful every day? It is more like,
it is competition.
Because I've gone through certain pain, I want you also to go through that pain. Instead of, I've seen this pain, let me protect the younger girls not to go through it. You shouldn't go through it. Half the time you find that it is a mother. I work with prostitutes. You'll find that a mother who's a prostitute will push her daughters to prostitution. She says, I've been feeding you through this business. Who do you think you are that you will not go into it? And you'll find that this is the mother who's pushing the child into prostitution because you think you're better than me. And that is the mentality even in leadership, in the leadership spaces. If you see most of the women who didn't go through, it's because, I always said it before, if only women voted for me, I'd become president.
True.
If only women voted for me, only. All I needed was the women's vote. Who has kept NRM in power? It's the women's vote. Who has kept most of the leaders who we have who are actually useless to this country in power? It is the women. It is us who vote unwisely. This election, I will be very honest and very fair to you. I have a lot of people in FDC, in NOP, even in NRM, old wise men and women, I'm not talking about just the young ones, who walked up to me and said, how may I support you? I'm in FDC, I am in NRM, I'm in NOP, I am in DP, so I can't come out publicly to support you. But if I can support you maybe financially, quietly, let me know how I can go about it, because I actually like your leadership. So I'd ask them, so why are you in the party you're in? You know, it's better to be where you're used to and you're comfortable.
Talking about...
In Rukunjiri was my
Rukunjiri was quite an experience. They tried to block me from entering Rukunjiri because the incumbent was campaigning in that district. And while we were locked out of the city center, of the town center, I met a few cars of NRM. There were these 4 gentlemen in a car. 2 of them were elderly and the other ones were middle-aged. And they stopped us. So I stopped and I was thinking, oh my God, NRM people. What are they going to do this time besides insulting me and trying to do? But I kept calm. I greeted them well. And this man walks up to me and says, I knew your father. And if you're made of the same substance, then you'll make a really good leader. I am in NRM. I'm an old man. Our party is dying, but we have very little to do. Me, I will vote for you. I said, really? He said, me, I will vote for you. I said, but you're in NRM. He said, well, but we all know what's happening, but this is how life is. You're probably not going to win, but I am going to vote for you. And this is an old man who was wearing an NRM t-shirt in an NRM car. And he said, I'll vote for you. Because I like
NRM
what you're doing.
And FDC, do you have any plans of joining any political party?
No.
Or forming your own party?
No. When I talk about Mission 56, it's about unifying a nation that is fragmented. We hate each other because of tribe. What is your name? What tribe do you come from? So I decide whether I can be your friend or not because of the language you speak.
Bikobere, we want a name, Babas.
I don't know what quality you have. I'm trying to recruit people for a job. And what is your name? Where do you come from? What tribe do you speak? And that will buy you from a job. Political parties. How many ministers do we have who are actually useless ministers, but because they belong to a particular political party? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I still believe that the 56 tribes of this country need to be united so that we look beyond our tribes. People vote tribes. You saw how this election went on. Quite a number of people voted for different people because of the tribe. You will find that the NRM stronghold is within where the president comes from. Do they even care that there are actually other leaders who are good? Or do they only care that this person speaks my tribe? How many people in the central region voted for Bobi Wine because he's a Muganda? How many people from the north voted
for Power?
Because
also had a bit in Soroti and
in Soroti, Power won completely. Why? They didn't care that maybe he's not the best candidate. As long as he's ours, we'll vote for him. So we have these things. Some people voted for NRM not because they like the leader, but because this is where we eat from. Political parties are another reason for our nation to be fragmented. And that is why I'm not willing to join a political party. I want to be able to introduce a leadership to this country where the leader, the president, is actually non-partisan. Because we moved around different districts in this country. You talk to bishops and you're like, oh, I would like to see how the church can support me, how can we work together? No, we're supposed to be non-partisan. But the next thing you find him wearing an NRM t-shirt at an NRM campaign, and you're wondering, you said you were non-partisan. Does that mean that non-partisan in this country means NRM? Is that what it means?
Maybe listening, if someone has been listening to us from where we started from, if someone listened to you while you were doing your campaigns, they could really agree with me that you have a great manifesto. Do you plan to share these ideas with the person who won the election so that they are implemented?
The person who won the elections has been in power for 35 years.
True.
I don't think he's looking for new ideas.
What is he looking for?
I don't know. I've not had the opportunity to speak to him on political terms, so I don't know what he's looking for.
So what do you plan to do with these ideas? Because they are good.
You see, there was a little boy who was on the seashore, and he kept on picking one crab and throwing it back into the water, far deep into the water, picking up another and throwing it back. And the waves kept on bringing these crabs. And on the dry ground, they actually die. In the water, they thrive.
So someone came along and said, why are you throwing these crabs back? He said, because I want to save their lives. He said, but the waves will keep on bringing the crabs anyway, and they'll keep on dying. The boy said, to that one crab that I threw back in the water, it matters. So it's not about how big, now that I don't have access to national coffers to carry out the plans that I have. Yes. At an individual basis, I can still do something small. As a president, I would have done it for the nation.
Yeah.
But as an individual, I've been doing these things because I've been serving at different levels. I started working in the church, working for communities from the time, I don't know how long ago it was. I've been working with prostitutes and rehabilitating them and helping them get back into employment, start businesses and things like that. I've been working with small communities, the youth, and helping them, you know, rehabilitate their lives if they were doing drugs, if they didn't have a business. So at a personal level, I'll continue.
Okay.
If anyone approaches me and says, Nancy, I liked your ideas, I would like to work with you, I say, fine. But my terms and conditions are simple. Integrity is the first thing. If you're willing to work in integrity, then I can work with you. Okay. If you're not going to work in integrity, I don't want to spoil my name and taint my reputation on the basis of what?
All right. Thank you so much. You're still streaming live from the Alternative Uganda Facebook, and we'll be uploading it on our YouTube channel very soon after the show is done. But we're still having Miss Nancy Kalembe. She's a former presidential candidate, and she was the only lady to be in this particular race. Now, Nancy, there are a couple of your people who opposed also, who stood for presidency, and they came out and they said the election was not really, free and fair. And we are seeing the National Unity Platform going to, petition the government, and they've gone to the Supreme Court. So what is your take on the particular, election? Was it free and fair?
Is the sky blue?
Yeah, it is blue.
In my opinion, there are certain topics that are not even up for discussion. Every Ugandan knows the truth.
But then Ugandans know the truth. But why don't they fight for their vote if their vote really counted at that?
You know, if you're old enough to have seen the 86 war and the wars before that, you know that life is more important than fighting for things that God is going to deal with anyway.
Wow. Fighting for things that God is going to deal with anyway. Can you throw more light on what you're reading?
I like to keep on referring to it.
Yes.
When King Nebuchadnezzar was taken out of the palace and he
for 7
was
years
turned into an animal for 7 years.
7 years.
He rose his eyes up and he said, you are God. You are the one who raises kings and you're the one who pulls down kings.
Yes.
At the end of the day, if President Museveni is still the president, then for some reason God has allowed him to remain there. Whether we like it, whether it is sorry,
it's okay.
Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, whether the election was free and fair, for some reason God has kept him in that position, and we don't know why. The elections were clearly, glaringly very unfair, and I think it is a waste of time to even discuss whether the elections were free and fair, because
Nancy,
it is too obvious.
Allow me to interrupt you, because the words you've spoken remind me of my mom. She's about 55 years, and she was telling me the exact same thing that you've said, that if God really decided that he should be president, he's now president, there's nothing we can do. But then there are Ugandans who went out on the 14th in large numbers and went and put their mandate there and voted for their right leader. Why are we not thinking about these Ugandans who really need their win? They actually need it because it was theirs.
I'm actually thinking about them because they need to stay alive. Do you know how many people were arrested during the campaigns?
Yes.
And their families are suffering and struggling because they are still in jail.
Do you know how many people are still being picked up today because of elections?
True.
Do you know how many businesses have suffered because the government decided they should switch off the internet? Do you know how many people are going without food,
Many.
clothes, housing? Do you know how many people are failing to pay rent because their businesses depend on internet? Do you know how many people have lost their lives?
Yeah.
Have broken bones? Have hands that can't work anymore because of elections? Is it actually worth it? When you're thinking about these people, that's what I kept on telling people during the campaigns. It is not necessary to be defiant in a country where the itinerary, the weapons, they said it themselves, we have the Maje. If they have the Maje, yes, they do. At the end of the day, by me being defiant and I cause my neighbors to die, what am I trying to achieve? Martyrdom?
But then, Nancy, what are they going to do then? What solution are you giving them?
I always tell people, but I think they don't listen. We need to pray together as a nation. Because he's the one who raises up kings and brings them down.
Yes.
I don't think President Museveni is as powerful as Gaddafi was. He's not yet achieved that. Gaddafi woke up one day and he was no more.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the same thing is going to happen to President Museveni, may God forbid, because I don't want to see what has happened in Libya all these years happening in Uganda.
Yeah.
But we've seen countries like Malawi, where the president decided to concede.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, where the president woke up one day and they decided we are changing government and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm hoping that there'll be change of government in this country, a peaceful transition. We fasted for 40 days during my campaign, and I asked people, please join me and let's pray and fast together. A lot of people take prayer for granted. They don't know how powerful it is. At the end of the day, we need to call upon a higher power. Because if you have, I mean, we've seen the Roman Empire, we have seen, if you like history, you saw the Mali, Songhai, all those people. And kingdoms rise and fall, empires rise and fall.
Yes.
This, I mean, we should get to a point where we say King Museveni.
He is a king.
Because
He is a king?
Yeah, I would like to assert that he is.
Because it is no longer about a presidency in the way the constitution is supposed to be. Presidents should come in and leave.
Yes, but
kings remain and stay, and then perhaps until they die, and then their sons come and take over. So if we're in a kingdom, I think it's time for us to say we are in a kingdom.
Yes.
And let us go on with business as usual, as we need to be. If elections come up, it is an opportunity to change government, and if elections come again, people should come out and vote again in large numbers. Who knows? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
But
who do you...
But Nancy has not really answered my question very well.
Please ask clearly so I may answer.
Because when you say that we've reached a time where we need to pray for our country, that we need God, yes, 100% I would love to agree with you. But I'll give you an example. In 1980, President Museveni would have had an option of, going and kneeling down and praying for what was happening then. But he resorted to, having an armed conflict and an armed rebellion. And that was the solution.
Does that mean he was actually thinking about the people?
Yeah, but I'm saying then, what are you going to do apart from praying? Because praying is not tangible. Praying is just a spiritual connection. And yes, prayers, I don't want anybody to dispute the fact that they work. Yes. But then, the Bible also says that prayer without action is a dead prayer.
What action would you suggest?
I wouldn't. You are the one who came for presidency. Suggest ways of, getting your country. Because if you say in your own words that this election was not free and fair, that means if it's not free and fair, people cannot really subject to a free and unfair election. So what are you, okay, not you particularly, but what do you think can be done in order for people to retain their vote?
At the end of the day, as I said from the beginning, life is more important than anything else. Even in battle, even warriors know that sometimes you need to retreat, to leave so that you can fight another day. You understand what I mean?
Yes, I do.
When President Museveni failed in the election and he went into bush war fighting, Do you think he was actually thinking about the voters who had voted right and that their vote had been stolen? I don't think he was thinking about them. He was thinking about himself and his people. He wasn't thinking about the Ugandans who voted. When a leader decides that the election is not free and fair, therefore let me go and fight, they're not actually thinking about Ugandans. They're thinking about themselves and how they can acquire power. I am a mother.
Yeah.
When we go into war, for example, because we have options, either you go to court, and just before elections, please remember, the judges on the Supreme Court were put there by who? So you think they're going to risk losing their jobs?
But when do we talk about integrity in this
That's
country?
one thing. Two, you think all the judges on the Supreme Court were put there because they have very high integrity? Exactly. Some of them could actually have integrity, but they are intimidated, some of them. Okay, so some of them don't have integrity. Others might actually have integrity, but they are intimidated. Third, if we go to war right now, who is actually going to suffer? Let's think about it. It is the ordinary Ugandan who voted, because if we go to war, most of the presidential candidates, their families go out of the country.
Yes.
Most of the ministers, the dignitaries, the people who can afford, their families go out of the country. So guess what? When there is war, who suffers?
And Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, who does not even have a passport as now.
Thank you very much. How long does it take you to get a passport if you went to the passport office?
It's a long
When we were growing up, it would take you a whole year to get a passport. If you are no more Ugandan. If you were somebody, then it takes hours to get a passport. But right now, it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months to get a passport. And yet, the process should be a 5-day process. You see what I mean? So now tell me something. If we decided to go defiant and go to the streets, who are we really punishing?
Ordinary Ugandan.
The ordinary Ugandan. So anybody who says they are going to war because the election was not free and fair, they're not really thinking about the Ugandans. Every action, you see, when we were going into throughout the country, I was threatened by police officers who came to my face and said, by the way, let me see you do anything. I'm going to tear gas you. You're threatening me. I have not fought with you. I've not insulted you. I just came, hello, how are you? You stop me on the way as I'm going for my campaign. And you say, madam, I am so-and-so. I am, there are abbreviations. I am the OSI. I am the this. I am whatever abbreviations they wanted to use. And if I see you causing any chaos in this place, and I would ask him, have you heard about me? Yes. Have you had any chaos I've caused anywhere? No, but you may start from here. This arrogance and stupidity, I would call it stupidity, because you're using your office. When you're swearing as a police officer, you're saying you're going to protect and serve. That is the oath you take.
Yeah.
Intimidation, threats, beating me up, tear gassing me was not part of your threats.
Yes.
It was not part of your oath that you took. So I would call it utter stupidity that a police officer would step away from their role to protect and serve. Who? Protect and serve the Ugandans. Not protect and serve the interests of one individual or a few individuals. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So as a mother, while I was going around on the campaigns, in the campaigns I saw women carrying their children on the backs. If I decide to cause chaos, which I could, by the way, if I decide to start a riot right there on the campaign, that woman who's carrying her child on her back is going to try and run and probably will not be able to outrun the tear gas.
Not the bullets.
Or the bullets.
These days it's no longer about tear gas.
The baby on her back will be motherless and will probably have breathing complications thereafter. Because we don't know whether what we have is tear gas, the real tear gas we used to have when we were younger. Because the tear gas we used to have when we were younger, you just go and splash water in your face or have a cold hanky. And
this one has flavors.
This one has flavors we don't understand. So we don't know if it's actually poisonous.
Yes.
You see what I mean? So while you're standing up there and speaking to people, think about that baby. Think about the children in the crowd who are going to be stumbled over. At the end of the day, sometimes the best action to take is to do nothing. sometimes it is the best action. I know it doesn't sound wonderful for most people. They're like, no, let's go and fight. Let's do this. Let's do this. All that is exciting while you're talking about it. But when you start stepping over dead bodies and blood is flowing on the street, that is when reality actually hits.
Then Nancy, what does this dispensation make? Is it a democracy? Are we in a democracy? Because if you reach a time when all peaceful avenues for government change are bad and closed down, then what next for the country? Just praying?
Please help me. Did I hear right? He said democracy.
Yeah.
And Uganda in the same sentence.
What does it make us?
Your English teacher must be very disappointed in you.
No, because if at the end of the day, you know why I can say no.
No, he said
guys,
Uganda, democracy, this dispensation, as in he's talking about this time now, the time we're in, and then you talked about Uganda, and then you talked about democracy.
That is what, now let me use the words of His Excellency.
If I was your English teacher right now, after this show, I'd come for you.
You would, in the literal, depending on what you think, but I'm talking about what Museveni always tells the international media and what he tells everybody. He says he is voted every 5 years and he wins. And the truth is he is voted every 5 years. You have elections. And after that, the Electoral Commission, and it calls itself an independent Electoral Commission, announces him. And at the end of the day, he's gone and he's sworn in and he becomes president. That makes it a democracy. That makes it a democracy in the eyes of many Ugandans. So, but what I'm
in the eyes of Uganda,
in the eyes of Ugandans and many other people, there are many Ugandans. They will tell you that 58% of them decided that he was.
Was it actually 58%?
Yeah, 58.64. That was the percentage.
Let me correct you. Number one, on the day when we were supposed to go to Electoral Commission, because all our agents and some of the presidential candidates who wanted to go to the tally center were supposed to go. Do you know what happened that day?
No.
We were turned away from the tally from the National Tally Center.
I remember seeing in Miami.
And while later on they allowed some people in, but they were turned away on the day when it was actually when votes were coming in. People were turned away. And one Kenyan girl asked, will you also come and help us with our election process? We said, what do you mean? I'm Kenyan. I said, really? I said, yeah, most of us here are Kenyans and some few people are from Rwanda. Actually, so the people who were given most access to our tally center were not nationals. So who was supervising what? So when you talk about democracy in this country, right now, you're crazy.
Is there a possibility that we will have a peaceful transition of power through a ballot?
There is that possibility. There are always possibilities for anything. Is there a possibility that it could rain today? Yes. So yes, there is a possibility that we could have a peaceful transition through a ballot.
For the last 20 years.
35.
35.
Oh, sorry. No, before that there were no elections.
Since 2001.
Sorry.
I mean,
that is about 51 years.
Let me tell you something. You see the countries that we admire that seem to be democratic, more democratic than us, they had their share of the drama that we are having now. Democracy is very young in Africa. So a space of transition is expected. Look at Tanzania now. Look at Kenya now. They actually vote and change leadership. Look at Nigeria. They actually vote and change leadership. I mean, Nigeria was under military government for a very long time.
A long time. A very long time.
When you see countries change, look at South Africa. Who knew? It was a dream to think that even black people will be allowed breathing space. Maybe they were about to divide the oxygen for white people and the oxygen for black people. At some point, it almost got that bad. Go further back. I like to tell people, go further back. Go into kingdoms and empires and maybe into the Bible and all that. There are times when the children of Israel gave up hope and they knew they were enslaved for 400 years. But when the time came, they actually moved.
And they said they were as if they were dreaming. Because these are things that their grandparents, their great-grandparents had told them, you know, we shall go back to the promised land. At some point, you're like, nawe, promised land namna gani? Promised land, but after 400 years, they actually went to the promised land. They actually did go. Yeah. Yes, they spent 40 years in the desert. And the people who had actually known about the promised land actually all died. Yes. And then a new generation entered the actual promised land. But that time still comes. I don't know when it is coming, but it will come.
So Ugandans just need to be patient and wait on God.
Patience, most Ugandans have run out of patience.
Yeah, that I would also agree.
About some of my colleagues going to the courts of law.
Yes, to petition.
If I had an opportunity, I would ask my brother or my colleague, my colleagues who are going to the courtrooms for, is it just to enrich the lawyers who are representing them? What's the point? To stay relevant in the public eye that you're actually doing something about it?
Or to just try.
Try?
As you said, you go for an election.
Who put the people on that panel? Who elected them there?
It was the president.
Thank you very much. Do you think that President Museveni is somewhere in his house shaking because there is a petition against the election process?
Don't think.
Do you think he's actually shaken or moved?
No.
Do you think
them prior to?
Do you think that during the time they were counting the votes, he was somewhere shaking? Do you remember that at some point, Mr. Byabakama actually audibly said, "Do you want me to read these results?" Even him, he was shocked because he knew what he was reading was wrong.
Yeah, I saw that video.
You saw that video. Yeah. Audibly, he asked, "Is this?" Because he was also shocked. They know. You think President Museveni was shaking somewhere that he's not going to win this? He was not going. He knew. I mean, look at his speech that he gave after the election.
Was it a speech? That is also a question.
Yes, it was a speech, but was it a victory speech?
I've always known speeches, victory speeches to be like.
If you watch that
to bring
speech,
people back together.
If you watch that speech, a victory speech is supposed to be, thank you very much, thank you for voting for me, thank you. But this was a speech that was clear that he was angry. Yeah. Angry at what? He knows that he was not voted in. He knows that most Ugandans didn't want him back. He knows that the majority of Ugandans voted other people. Why? Because they actually want change. Yeah. He knows that it is a fact. If it wasn't so, if he had actually won, even if he had gotten 58% as the as the independent electoral commission announced, then means he would have been excited. Can you imagine if I had gotten 50% plus one vote? Can you imagine what I would be doing right now? I'd be going back to the districts where I went, thanking them. Because one, I'd have the resources to thank them. Not that I don't. Right now, even the few people who voted for me, I thank them so much because they voted for me. But I don't have the resources to go around the country again in this short period to go and thank them. So the best thing I can do is use the media. Because I know that the votes that I got, it is amazing that I come out for the first time in the political arena. Yeah. And there is no district where I got less than 100 votes. Wow. There is no district where I got less than 100 votes. According to the tallying that we had done, it actually puts me at number 4. That was my position. In some districts I was number 6, in some districts I was number 3, in some districts I was actually number 2. Okay. According to our tallied results. But the results that Electoral Commission brought out, announced, they put me at number 8. And I was thinking to myself, look here, was it necessary to steal my votes? Because I wasn't going to claim that I'm president. I knew my position. When we tallied, actually our tallies show that I was number 4. So what are they afraid of? They're actually afraid that a woman who came out for the first time can take the position of number 4. Let's put her at number 8 so that we keep on weakening the women and let them think that they don't have say, they don't have a vote. Okay. We could actually do this as women. I keep on saying, if women decided to rise up and we do this, we can actually do this. Women changed government in Sierra Leone, did they?
even in Sudan. It was led
Thank
by
you very
22-year-old
Thank you very much. Women changed.
girl.
Women can change. It's just that someone is always there to remind you as a woman. Well, there are some during the campaigns there are questions I stopped answering. As a woman, why? Why don't you ask me as an individual, as a human being? Why are you asking as a woman?
Yeah.
You're trying to stereotype me. You're trying to put me in a box. You're trying to give me a victim mentality that I don't even have myself. I don't feel any less of anything. As I said during the campaigns, if you look at all the presidential candidates critically, objectively, not with any lenses on, I was actually a better candidate than all the 10 of them.
Okay, well,
we are running out of
yeah,
time.
15
Really
minutes to
Miss
go.
Nancy to comment on the quality of leaders that we have in the parliament, specifically this time around, and the quality of debate that we are likely to have in the House.
I think it would be unfair for me to comment on the quality of members of parliament that we have right now, because you can't judge a book by its cover. You have to actually flip the pages, read through the book to the end, then you will judge whether the book is right or wrong. The quality of leaders that we have sent to parliament have to prove themselves. So maybe by the end of this year or next year, we will be able to tell what quality of leaders we have. Right now it is too soon. Okay. Yes, there are a number of leaders who are young, which means there's going to be a lot of energy in parliament. There are a number of leaders who have never been on the political scene before, which means we're going to have very many new bright ideas.
Yes.
But as in their quality, you can't tell right now. I mean, it would be very unfair to judge people before you give them an opportunity to serve. Let them serve. A lot of people are judging people, saying, you know, the other one is poor, the other one, Asulam Muzigo, the other one. You may find that that person who was actually voted from a Muzigo may make the best parliamentarian this country has ever seen. The house you sleep in does not define your character. Yeah. Your bank account does not define your character. Yeah. The car you drive does not define your character. Let us give these people a chance. They were voted by Ugandans and they're in parliament right now. Let's give them the benefit of doubt. Right. And let's see what they're going to do and how they are going to serve. You may find that the people who are despised the most, the Bible says that the stone that was rejected became the cornerstone. So you may find that the stones that we think are useless or are not able, the parliamentarians we are looking down on because we are used to pompous political leaders who actually are here airheads, but because they look big and they can talk big, you may find that these simple, humble human beings who have been sent to parliament may end up being the change of our country, the change that we want to see.
Okay.
Maybe,
and to add on that,
as a mother, I would really want you to comment on the ongoing kidnaps that are going on in this country currently, as a mother.
Plus the torture too, because it comes with kidnap, torture, and then abandonment.
I was watching the news, I think yesterday or the day before, and one of the commentators said, have we gone back to the days of Idi Amin, where people used to vanish? When we were young, one of my uncles was collected from home. His feet were tied to the back of a pickup, and his body was left lying down on the ground. And they drove the pickup, a government pickup, and they drove off. And the wife and the child were forced to watch while they were leaving the father's skin, scalp, brains on the road. My only comment on that is may God help us. Because if the kidnaps have started, I'm not saying they were not happening before. Poisoning, car accidents, murders have been happening all this time. They've just been done quietly. Now, there's more audacity.
Okay.
So
There is more audacity.
May God help us. It's not that it has started. People
Yes,
are
it
just
has always
noticing
been
it
there.
now. It has always been there. It's just that now there is more audacity. And I told Ugandans during the campaigns that if you make a mistake and vote this government back into power, you're going to ask the people who went to boarding school what Chiromo is. You will understand.
Yeah, I was in a
So
boarding school.
if you
and I
know what Chiromo is,
Chiromo is
most likely that is what this government is going to do this time
Chiromo.
round. They are going to do what we used to do in boarding school on Chiromo. So they've not even sworn in yet, but the Chiromo has started. They are beating the people who they think did not support during the term. The one who made them annoyed is being beaten. The food of the one who was mean throughout the term is going to be eaten. So we are going to experience Chiromo. May God help us. That's why I said about that. May God help us.
All right, about that, may God help us. At just 10 minutes to the end of the show, this is the Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and I'm not alone. I'm with Farida Bikobere, plus our honorable guest today. She's a former presidential candidate. That's why I would assert that she's a honorable. She's called Nancy Kalembe. She ran into in the 2021 elections, and yes, she got a number that was really good for her. So, Nancy, as we conclude, let's talk about dialogue. Many spiritual leaders, many Ugandans believe that it is a time where the oppressed and the oppressor, that's how they like to refer to themselves, but is it time for them to sit on a round table and just talk about these things, talk about Uganda before them? Because it feels like they are putting themselves ahead of the country. Do you think it's a time where we need to sit down as a country and have a consensus and say, this is what you're supposed to do to be done now?
Dialogue is always good. The Chinese have a proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. But the next best time to plant a tree is now. If you didn't plant it 50 years ago, go out and plant it now. So dialogue time reached long time ago. But we didn't have dialogue then.
Okay.
Even the presidential debate was removed because the leaders in government thought that it was not important. They didn't think it would favor them if we had a presidential debate. So they cancelled it and gave a flimsy excuse of there is no money. No. COVID, we could have been in a hall, all separated, and had the presidential debate without an audience. But guess what? That was not necessary because it was not going to favor them. The best time for dialogue is now. Now that we didn't do it 50 years ago, we didn't plant that tree 50 years ago, let's plant the tree now. So yes, it's time for dialogue. It's long overdue. We need to have dialogue.
All right. Before you give us your parting shots, I would like to tell us about a fun fact about the Electoral Commission and the electoral process and you. What was that most exciting moment that came your face in 2021 when we were having the elections and the whole process?
Wow, the most interesting time.
Yeah.
Wow, there were so many.
Okay. You can break them up and just tell us all of them if possible. We still have like 5 minutes to go.
There was I think it was in Kitgum. After I had spoken, these guys came and I was talking to them. And after, most of them were either in yellow or in red. And after I spoke to them, these guys just walked up to me, took off their yellow mask and said, after listening to you, I'm not in NRM anymore. I don't care whether you have money or you don't have money. I am not in NRM anymore. They took off their yellow masks and said, I'm going to go and buy my own mask. Sika mask zabwere. Then another one took off their red cap from NUP and said, I've been in NUP. And I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny. Both these parties are very strong parties. If people were saying after listening to you. So I was thinking to myself, how many of these are doing this in their spaces without physically taking off the yellow and the red? But they have changed their minds. That was, for me, a highlight, I think.
Are there any lessons that you learned from that campaign that some girl out there or a young boy that is also looking for a leadership position could have in mind before they come out to contest?
I think what I can tell people is this. If you believe that leadership is your calling, not just leadership, if you want to be a doctor, an engineer, a space, I don't know, if you want to go to the moon and back, you don't have to wait for NASA to come to Uganda. You can start building your own space, whatever in Uganda. I'm saying whatever crazy dream you have, do not allow somebody to tell you what you can and cannot do. When someone tells you, you can't do this, it has never been done before, what they are telling you is, I can't do it, I failed. Just because you failed, do not allow, you as an individual who has different dreams, do not allow the failures of others to be projected on your destiny. Those were their failures. If they couldn't because they're women, if they couldn't because they're black, if they couldn't because they're young, if they couldn't because of their dispensation and their position, it was their failure. Yeah. They have no right to impose their failures on you. Okay. Do what you think you should be doing. And if that day the stars are aligned in your favor, who knows? If I had run for presidency and that day God had decided, you know what, let me let Nancy pass, I would be president by now. Yeah. That didn't happen. Let's wait and see what God has in store for us.
Maybe a last from me. If President Museveni comes up now and offers you a ministry, would you take the offer?
It depends on a lot of things. I mean, when someone offers you a job, there are very many reasons. Is it so that you can actually work together to take the country forward? Is it so that you can be put in a position where you can be failed so that you're discredited? Is it because they actually see something in you and they think, if we take this person on, perhaps she will do something, and they're interested in actually your abilities? That's different. So it depends on, one, what has been offered, and the motive behind why it's being offered. Because you know that story of a bird that was lying somewhere, and then the cow came and put cow dung on it, defecated on it. Yeah. And while it was still quarreling, because it was a cold winter day, while it was still quarreling, how can this cow put its dung on me? How can, of all places, why did you come and poop where I was? It realized, oh, I'm not freezing anymore. It's actually warm in here. So sometimes the dung does not come to make you dirty. Sometimes it comes to actually warm you. So different situations will call for different reactions.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Your parting shots?
My parting shots can only be this. To Ugandans, those who supported me financially, those who voted for me, I can't say thank you enough. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for that vote of confidence. Actually, that was a vote of confidence, nothing else. It was you saying you believe in me. And I want to thank you so much. Thank you for those who spent their money to ensure that I drive around all the districts, as many districts as I did. I went to 127 districts. That was no easy task. I thank you because you supported those who provided hotels for us to use, those who provided fuel, those who provided their cars, those who spent time, the team that just took time out and spent 2 months with me. I can't say thank you enough. So I want to thank everybody who was involved in my campaign. May God bless you. And I want to thank God because we are alive. There is no war, there is no bloodshed. Yes, there may be kidnaps and people vanishing and all that, but it's not on a mass scale. It's a good thing that we are not jumping over bodies in the streets, or blood is not flowing in the streets, so we want to thank God for that. And I would encourage Ugandans, let's keep on praying. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen when we walk out of this van. We know that God is still in control, and as long as we have life, we can live to fight another day.
All right, as long as we have life, we can live to fight another day. This is The Mighty Drive. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Just 1 minute to 9 a.m. It was an insightful debate for me, a talk show that we are really educative, edutaining, and that is what The Mighty Drive does for you. It gives you educative and entertaining, you know, and information that you can learn from. For me particularly, I learned that the failures of of others should not put me down. It is them that failed. It wasn't me that failed. So I have a destiny for myself that I'm, yes, right now trying to also achieve as the purpose that is I have for my life. And lastly, Nancy Kalembe tells us that it has been God throughout everything. I hope you also think about that, because without God, we are nothing. We are vanity. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Mighty Drive. Please do join us tomorrow at exactly 7 a.m. as we bring you more people that you would like to listen from and get what they are saying. You can follow us on our social media platforms. It is at The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, and The Alternative Uganda on Twitter, and The Alternative Uganda on YouTube. You just click that subscribe button, and then you can press on the alarm button so that you get notifications every time we go live or we have any update for you. From the entire team, our producer Arnold Mukose Anthony, and on the camera was the lovely Teddy Tenjo Nabukera, and our driver Kato, plus Jeremiah, everybody on the team. And I cannot forget Farida, Bikobere, who was here with me as we dug deep into the discussions with Miss Nancy Kalembe. So, ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a lovely good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Uganda is born again.
Mubirabye. Mubiwulidde.
And you will see what NRM means. We are going to crush those criminals.
Mubyenyigiddemu.
We are simply peacefully telling our people, say no to rigged elections.
Ebimu mubitegeera.
Naffe tusobola okutiisatiisa abo abatiisatiisa.
Oba oli awo ng'abamu mugwamu bigwe. Byabaffe byava ku ki?
Era kyova olaba baatukolera ne constitution esinga obusiru mu nsi yonna.
Bino n'ebirala birindirire buli lwa Sande okuva ku ssaawa 11 okutuuka ku ssaawa 1 ey'akawungeezi n'eyaliko Katikkiro wa Buganda Oweekitiibwa Dani Muliika ku program Eriiso ly'Omukulu ku Facebook page The Alternative Uganda.